Hello everybody and welcome to our next video in the DeepFX Studio introductory videos. In this video just gonna have a quick look at simulation nodes since that's a very big part of DeepFX Studio, it's simulations. So we're just gonna set up a very simple liquid simulation and this using SPH. So we're going to go through the easy route for the SPH solver. It can get pretty complicated because you can actually hook up Bullet to it, but we're going to do something very basic. We're just going to add an emitter and add an object, and the particles are just going to collide with the object, and that's about it. So we'll reserve the more complicated stuff to later because this procedure stuff can get pretty complicated pretty fast. So let's get started here. So for this I'm just going to add a sphere to the scene. I'm just going to hide the grid. I'm going to go to wireframe so we can see the particles easier. Okay. Let me just hide this quickly, and then I'm going to go to the add menu. And the SPH, I'm going to add a shape emitter. Okay, I'm just going to click it, add it, drag it to the top, and I'm just going to rotate it. Of course, yes, okay, rotate it. And then just gonna show the sphere again so I can position it easier. So just gonna rotate the view. Okay. So that's the test. The resolution of the the amount of particles doesn't make a big difference, so we just want something really quick. So we're gonna say 1.5 for the radius of the emitter. Okay. We're going to keep it as a circle. We're not going to touch anything else. Maybe we'll drop this to around 7, the strength, the initial velocity there. Okay, so now that we've got our basics in the scene, we're going to start adding the nodes that are specific to simulation. So for this, I'm going to use a group node. You should get used to group nodes. I'm going to explain them here because they're very important. Since you will notice when using nodes that none of the nodes have multiple inputs. You cannot add more than one input to a node, okay, unless it's an array. But even arrays only take single arrays. So group nodes are special that they can take multiple values, and all they do is pretty much collect the IDs from each node and group them into one group, okay? Okay, so I'm just going to delete the connection there. So keep in mind group nodes are very important. So I'm going to go to SPH here, and I'm going to add I'm going to go to particles. So this is a system. Since you can mix systems, or you can mix stuff, I'm going to go to particle rigid. So you got a particle catch, which we'll use later. Then we're going to go to particle rigid, which is not explicitly SPH thing, but we can use it anyway. Okay. So what we're going to do is add that to there. Go to position, go to rotation, and go to scale. Okay, and then emitters we can just add directly since SPH will pick this up pretty easily. Let me just expand that. So I'm not going to the details specifically of these things. Please refer to the documentation. I just want you to understand how the whole process, I call it the simulation cycle works. Okay, so it's similar to all of them. Okay, so we've got a sphere going into the particle rigid, okay? And then if we click this, you have your basics. So we're going to leave that the default. Emitter, we've already edited that. So particle catch goes here. So what we need next is the actual solver. So here we've got we've got a state-of-the-art solver. We use divergence-free SPH. Modified version of divergence for SPH. I'm not going to go into the details, but it's a very powerful liquid solver. Okay, so then before we're gonna the cache, before we pipe from the cache, which just represents particles, we need to map our SPH channels to just plain old particles. For that, we've got a map SPH channel node. Okay, so then we're just going to take the positions and velocities and put them into our cache. So we're just using the cache here just to visualize stuff. stuff. We're not going to save anything to disk, but if we open up the cache, we can save stuff to disk as well. Okay, bam bam. So we just need to do some small details. We can start talking about simulation nodes. So simulation nodes are a little bit different from other nodes because they've got state. Okay, so I'm just going to add a time node just to express what happens here. So for example, nodes only evaluate once in the graph. Okay, for efficiency's sake, nodes will not evaluate twice. So if I'm creating a volume here, it's not going to do it twice. But once it's done, unless something changes, it's not going to do it twice. So but for simulations, we need stuff to, we need to do it every step. It needs to simulate something. So for that, most solvers will have a trigger input. I just triggered it. So I'm going to pipe in the time, because that's what triggers the simulation, the time, essentially here. But what I'm also going to do is use this as the index of the cache, because the caches need an index for reference. It just uses a map for each frame. It will use an index value to map that frame to the cache. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward there. Okay, so I'm just make sure everything's in place. Yeah, so I'm just gonna hit the forward button once. Bam, so you saw some text at the bottom to showing that it's simulating. Okay, so once the first frame goes into effect, what happens in the background is that these nodes do some initialization just for the first frame. Okay, then after that they will continue to do they'll just work normally. So initialization once when the simulation starts. And by the way, you can pause and start simulations in DeepFX Studio. That not gonna affect your simulation. Okay, so let's just do that. And then as you can see, of course, we can rotate the viewport during this. As you can see, the particles are interacting. I'm just gonna hide the sphere so you can have a better look. As you can see, we're simulating. So I'm just gonna let this run for a bit. And then I'll explain resetting a simulation and stuff like that. But of course, for more details, please refer to the online documentation. If you don't know where it is, just go to help and say view online help, and that should be about it. Okay, I'm just gonna pause it after that. So if you wanna preview your simulation, don't forget to switch off the sim button. That's just gonna take it out of simulation mode. So I'm just gonna play it back. So this is the cache simulation. This is just the cache. The view there is just the cache. The particles are just in the cache. Okay, so we've just simulated a very basic liquid simulation with the SPH solver. Okay, so to reset the simulation, of course, you do reset, and that will clean everything essentially. So now if we scrub through, the cache is clean, and every node that implements this internally will clean the data. So anything that's not stateless, like simulation nodes, will clean the data. And then of course you can just start from scratch. You can make your changes there, and things will start to go. Oh, but don't forget to switch on simulation again, and then of course your simulation will go. Okay, move forward. And of course in the bottom left corner you can see what's happening. This is showing you, and most nodes will display information in the bottom right or in the console. If there's too much information, it's probably going to show up in the console. Okay, thank you for watching. Introduction to simulations in DeepFX Studio. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward if you use the for this level, I guess it's very straightforward to get up and running. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.